Welcome back to my channel. I'm Traben. These are my future tomes, and today we are going to be doing a little bit of journaling, I guess. We're going to be putting in to my book calendar all of the things I want to pick up, all the books I'm interested in for 2026. Now, if you are in chat and you want to recommend a book for me to take a look at, feel free. Or if you want to talk about what you are currently reading, what you hope to pick up in 2026, that's all good as well. So I've got a number of tabs open here for my anticipated reads for 2026. It's gonna look like I'm looking over the completely different direction. Anyway, so yes, I've got my reads here, and we're gonna go through them, and I'm gonna be putting them into my journal, or my calendar rather. I am using today. I've got my focus. I'm using my Micron PN colors. These are pretty good for their purpose. They don't smudge after a while, but you have to be careful not to do it immediately. So we will have to give it a little time to rest for each month. And I did organize my reads by month. So we should be able to go through and like fill all of January in, then fill all of February. So we've decided on 3 colors. And here's our like key for this year. Oh my god, it wants to focus on my face. Get out of there. Come on. Man, this is not cooperating at all. There we go. All right, so we got like number 36 for books, which is a blue, a purple for comics, and a pink for manga for this year. So I don't think we're going to be doing comics and manga much on this stream. I definitely I didn't look up the manga releases. I have a whole list of things that I'm caught up with that I want to read in the next year. And so I'm going to be looking at those dates and adding them as well. I know I have one comic on here for sure. But other than that, I think it's just going to be books. I also have my water here in my Hobbit glass that I got from, I think this was a Fairy Loot box. So I'm trying to be better about limiting my soda intake for this year, drinking more water. So, all right, with all those introductions out of the way and kind of a run through of what we're doing, let's take a look at the books for this upcoming year. Like I said, I tried to get these in roughly chronological order. So like all the Januaries will be together. But after that, like it's not like in order through January. It's just all the January ones are all clumped together. So here is our January picture, our January library. Each of these is like a really cool library shot. So, and then at the end, if we get through all of the ones that I've looked at so far, I do also have my Goodreads new releases by authors that I've already looked at before. So we'll see if there's anything that I maybe missed in looking up different books. All right, so starting off, we have Halcyon Years by Alastair Reynolds. Alastair Reynolds, I really like his short fiction. But I've read 2 of the 3 of the Poseidon's Children trilogy, and I read them out of order. But he writes a lot of like really hard sci-fi, which for me takes a while to get through, but I feel like it's really well written and really well thought out. Like he clearly knows his stuff when it comes to science fiction. This one says, a superb new noir science fiction fusion from the master singer of space opera and the creator of beloved Revelation space universe. Strap in for a gripping murder mystery. Yuri Gagarin is a private investigator who picks up small cases from his local community, runs into trouble with local police, and generally ekes out a living as best he can. He's aboard the Halcyon, a starship hurtling through space, carrying thousands of passengers with thousands more sleeping on their journey away. Only his usual investigation work, catching cheating spouses and small-time con artists, is about to take a turn. He's hired by a mysterious woman called Ruby Red to look into the death of one of Halcyon's most elite families, and then warned of the case off the case again by a second mysterious woman called Ruby Blue. Caught between the two, he's about to be embroiled in a murder mystery, which at any moment he could be the latest victim. Gripping, fast-paced fun, this is a classic noir mystery with a science fiction twist, which will keep you guessing and on the edge of your seat to the end. A fresh new masterpiece from the master of science fiction. So this is hitting a lot of buttons for me. A lot of really great things that I look for. Murder mystery, neo-noir, those are all great. So this is coming out on the 27th of January. So we'll add that to the list. Oh my goodness. Halcyon Years. Alrighty. I'm going to try to keep these up in case we want to go back to any of them. So next up we have 12 Months. This is also coming out very soon. This is on the 20th. And this is the 18th book in the Dresden Files series. And I am going to actually avoid reading the synopsis for this one, just because I am not caught up with this series as of yet. I started to reread. This is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. And I started to reread from book 7, I want to say. Book 6 or book 7. A while back, and I got up to book 13. So I'm on book 13. The latest one I've read is 15, which one is that? Changes, Cold Days. I'm trying to remember what the 15th book was called. So I'm like 3 books behind at this point. And I'll have to catch up. So we'll put that on the calendar. I know I want to pick it up, but I'm not yet ready to read what it's about and to jump right into it. All right. Let's get that moved down a little bit. This is Agnes Albert's Mystical Cat Shelter. This comes from Heather Fawcett, who is the author of the Emily Wilde trilogy, which I really enjoyed. This one says, a woman who runs a cat rescue in 1920s Montreal turns to a grouchy but charming wizard to help save the shelter in this heartwarming, cozy fantasy from New York Times bestselling author of the Emily Wilde series. Agnes Albert leads a meticulously organized life, and she likes it that way. As a proudly Type A manager of the much-needed cat rescue charity, she has devoted her life to finding forever homes for lost cats. But after she's forced to move the cat shelter, Agnes learns that her new landlord is using her charity as a front for an internationally renowned and thoroughly disreputable magic shop, owned by a disorganized, not to mention self-absorbed, irritating, but also decidedly handsome Havelock Renard, magician and failed Dark Lord. The shop draws magical clientele from around the world, partly due to the quality of Havelock's illicit goods, as well as their curiosity about his shadowy past and rumors of his incredible powers. Agnes's charity offers the perfect cover for illegal magics. Agnes couldn't care less about the shop, magical intrigue or not. There are cats to be rescued, but when an enemy of the Havelock's past services, the magic shop, and more importantly, the cat shelter, are suddenly in jeopardy. To save the shelter, will Agnes have to set aside her social conscience and protect the man who once tried to bring about the apocalypse and is now trying to steal her heart? It just sounds like it's got the same... It sounds like it's got a lot of the same vibes as Emily Wilde, where we've got some romance going on, a fantasy setting that seems pretty cozy, and a main character that strikes me as kind of bookish, less directly so than Emily Wilde, but still has that like introvert main character quality that I think was done really well in the Emily Wilde trilogy. So this is coming out February 17th, which means we're flipping over to our next month. Here's our February library. Yeah, I really like the way we have our library organized, but the color-coded ones do look really nice. It's tempting. It's just how would you find anything is my question. All right, so this is expected the 17th of February. Excellent. All right. All right, this one's the Astral Library. There's a channel called the Astral Library, and I'm really curious if they're aware that this is coming out next year, because it seems like I know they have a book club too. They should definitely pick this up for part of their book club. From New York Times bestselling author Kate Quinn comes a gorgeously written fantastical adventure which poses the question, have you ever wished you could live inside of a book? Welcome to the Astral Library, where books are not just objects, but doors to new worlds, new lives, and new futures. Alexandria Alex Watson has learned one lesson from her barren childhood in the foster care system. Unlike people, books will never let you down. Working 3 dead-end jobs to make ends meet and knowing college is a pipe dream, Alex takes nightly refuge in the high-vaulted reading room at the Boston Public Library, escaping into her favorite fantasy novels and dreaming of far-off lands, until the day she stumbles through a hidden door and meets the librarian, the ageless, acerbic guardian of a hidden library where the desperate and the lost escape to new lives inside their favorite books. The librarian takes a dazzled Alex under her wing, but before she can escape into the pages of her new life, a shadowy enemy emerges to threaten everyone in the Astral Library has ever helped protect. Aided by a dashing costume shop owner, Alex and the librarian flee to the Regency drawing rooms of Jane Austen, to the back alleys of Sherlock Holmes, and the champagne-soaked parties of the Great Gatsby, as danger draws inexorably closer. But who does their enemy really wish to destroy? Alex, the librarian, or the library itself? So yeah, it just seems like it gives me what was the one movie where the kid escapes into the books? Page Master. Gives me Page Master vibes. Maybe Page Master for adults. This is also coming out on the 17th. So that's 2 books already to go pick up on that day. That one looks like a lot of fun. Oh, I keep forgetting. I need to click the want to read button on all these. That one's already been clicked. That one's already been clicked. There we go. All right. Next up, this came from one of the like horror thriller channels that I follow. I think I saw this first on Gabby Reads. How to Kill a Guy in 10 Days. So this is like romance horror romance. I've found a couple on this list that I'm going to be adding to my collection hopefully this next year. All right. Whoa. How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates, a humorous, swoony, and downright terrifying horror romance in which a young woman gets caught in the middle of a murder spree at a speed dating event, must use her encyclopedic knowledge of the horror genre to make it as a real-life final girl. When Jamie Prescott and her best friend Lori attend a speed dating event, Jamie expects to meet a roster of mediocre men and indulge in some street food afterwards. She doesn't expect one of her dates to have his throat slit at the table during the blackout. When the lights come back on and there are more bodies on the floor, it becomes clear that the speed dating can be a very dangerous pastime. Armed with makeshift weapons and Jamie's extensive knowledge of what not to do in a horror movie, the remaining speed daters try to find an exit while the killer adds to their body count. As the night progresses and Jamie comes face to mask with the murderers, she begins to suspect he is committing the slayings to woo one of the dates and turn her into his real-life final girl. But Jamie has a different love story in mind, and as she fights for her life, she can't help but find herself ensconced in a love triangle with two of the other speed daters. Will she survive the bloodshed to find her happily ever after? Or does this machete-wielding psychopath have another final girl in mind? For fans of Love in the Time of Serial Killers and Butcher and Blackbird, How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates is one killer love story. So that is coming out on the 3rd of February. That one just sounds like a lot of fun. I read another, like, Final Girl. She was supposed to be very aware of tropes book, I want to say last year, and I did not care for it. So hopefully this works out and this one is fun. It sounds like it will be fun. All right. Next up, we have For Human Use. This one sounds bizarre, and I don't think I've seen a single reviewer go through the whole prompt, the whole spiel here. But I got a sense of what it's about. So it says, an unforgettable debut. For Human Use is a twisted tale of modern love that bends every genre, sears itself into your brain, and presents a horrific romantic comedy unlike anything you've ever read before. So horrific romantic comedy. There we are again with the horror romance. Modern dating is dead. Finding a human connection online has become impossible. Enter Live, a dating app that matches people with dead bodies. Somehow it has taken the world by storm. That sounds like the most hand-wavy thing ever. Somehow it works. Millions of users are convinced that life with a corpse presents a better alternative to conventional relationships. Flailing against Liv's popularity, venture capitalist superstar Tom Williamson, whose company is funding Live, isn't buying it, mostly because dating an involved cadaver, let alone monetizing it, is obscene. Believing that Live is the future, Audine White, the insufferable visionary behind the app, begins demanding more and more funding, quickly making enemies with Tom. It's no secret that Tom struggles with people, dead or alive, but when he has a chance of meeting with the woman who knows Audine and his secrets best, Mara Reed, he realizes that everything is about to change for all three of them. With Liv's user base growing by the day, the need for cadavers rapidly increases. Humanity might not want to connect with other living, breathing people anymore, but they do want to connect with something. What could go wrong? And that's just such an insane premise. It honestly reminds me of Chuck Palahniuk, the guy who wrote Fight Club. He has some books that have just like these wild premises that don't seem like they're going to work, and then they actually read pretty well. So this is on the 10th of February. That's 3 weeks in a row that we got good releases coming our way. All right, February is shaping up to be a good month. All right, Operation Bounce House. I honestly have not even looked at what this is about. I just know who is writing it. I think I read the synopsis once, like a while back. But I know who's writing it, and I know I want to read more of their stuff. There's a giveaway. Might enter that giveaway later. All right, this is by Matt Dinniman, who is the writer of Dungeon Crawler Carl, most famously. I've also read Kaiju, Kaiju Battlefield Surgeon from him. And so I think his writing style is very loose and fun, but he also has a very good handle on world building. And so I'm interested in picking up something else from him. A man must fight for his planet against impossible odds when gamers from Earth attempt to remotely annihilate it in this epic, fast-paced novel from the New York Times bestselling author of the smash hit Dungeon Crawler Carl. All colonists Oliver Lewis ever wanted to do is run the family ranch with his sister, maybe play a gig or two with his band, and keep his family's aging fleet of intelligent agriculture bots ticking as long as possible. As a fan of Earth television and culture, he figures it will be a good thing when the transfer gate finally opens all the way and restores instant travel and full communication between Earth and his planet, New Sonora. But there's a complication. Even though the settlers were promised they'd be left in peace, Earth's government now has other plans. The colossal Apex Corporation is hired to commence an eviction action, but maximizing profits will always be Apex's number one priority. Why spend money printing and deploying their own AI soldiers when they can turn it into a game? Why not charge bored Earthers for the opportunity to design their own war machines and remotely pilot them from the comfort of their own homes? The game is called Operation Bounce House. Oliver and his friends soon find themselves fighting for their lives against machines piloted by gamers who paid a premium for the privilege. With the help of an old book from his grandfather and a bucket of rusty parts, Oliver is determined to defend the only home he's ever known. Sounds very much like Dungeon Crawler Carl, just with like a space bent to it. But I'm definitely interested. So that one is also the 10th of February. That one I'm excited about as well. I'm excited about all these. I can stop saying that. Like, all of these are on my list. All right, we're on to March. So let's take a look at the March library. I like this one quite a bit. So here's our March library photo. It's a very nice one. And if you're just joining the chat, throw in your 2026 TBR. Like, what do you want to read this year? What are you excited about in 2026? All right, now this one is Ernest Cunningham number 4. So it is the latest in a series that I've already read the other 3 books for. It was 2 books and a novella. So, but this one, and they all kind of have a similar vibe in that they will adhere to classic mystery tropes while also like pushing those boundaries or playing with it in some way. And I think it's a really effective series. I really like it as far as like a fun whodunit to try to solve and to play along with. All right, it says 10 suspects, 10 heists, a mystery only Ernest Cunningham can solve. I've spent the last few years solving murders, but a bank heist is a new one, even for me. I've never been a hostage before. The doors are chained shut, no one in or out, which means that when someone in the bank is murdered, hostages become suspects. The bank robber, the manager, the security guard, the kid, the film producer, the priest, the receptionist, the patient, the carer, and me. Turns out more than one person planned the bank robbery today. You can steal more from a bank than just money. Who is stealing what? Are they willing to kill for it? And can I solve the crime before the police kick down the door and rescue us? It's very straightforward, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. 17th of March. Put that on the calendar. All right. Next one. I already marked that one to read. Seasons of Glass and Iron. This one is one that my wife actually drew my attention to. This is half of the pair that wrote This Is How You Lose the Time War. And it's the author... That book was co-authored by her and I think Max Gladstone is the other author. I've read another Max Gladstone book and I did not care for it. So I figure I will give this one a chance. It's also a short story collection and I like to have a few of those each year to just give me a change of pace and to read something a little bit different. So this one says, full of glimpses into gleaming worlds and fairy tales with teeth, Seasons of Glass and Stories is a collection of acclaimed and awarded work from Amal al-Motar. With confidence and style, al-Motar guides us through exquisitely told and sharply observed tales about life as it is, was, and could be. Like miscellany from other worlds, these stories are told in letters, diary entries, reference materials, folk tales, and lyrical prose. Full of nebula, locust, world fantasy, and Hugo Award-winning nominated stories, Seasons of Glass and Stories includes Seasons of Glass and Iron, The Green Book, Madeline, The Lonely Sea in the Sky, and Their Lips Rang with the Sun, The Truth About Owls, A Hollow Play, Anabasis, To Follow the Waves, John Hollowback and the Witch, Florilegia, or Some Lies About Flowers, Pockets, and more. Okay, I'm not familiar with any of those short stories. I don't read a lot of short story collections or short stories in general. But like I said, I really enjoy How to Lose the Time War, and I want to see if this is an author that maybe I want to pick up some of their other stuff as well. So this is 24th of March. Seasons of Glass and Iron. Stories. Alrighty, and click. I want to read that. Now this sound, I'm not familiar with this author, but this sounded the most like Emily Wilde, maybe. Like Emily Wilde with dinosaurs, maybe. The premise just sounded like a lot of fun. This is The Geomagician, 31st of March. When a Victorian fossil hunter discovers a baby pterodactyl, she vows to protect him with the help of a fellow scholar, her former fiancé, in this enchanting and transporting historical fantasy. Mary Anning wants to be a geomagician, a paleontologist who uses fossils to wield magic, but since the Geomagical Society of London refuses to admit women, she's stuck selling her discoveries to tourists instead. When an ancient egg hatches in her hands, revealing a lovable baby pterodactyl Mary names Ajax, she knows this is the kind of scientific find that can make her career if she's strategic. Mary contacts the society about her discovery, and they demand to take possession of Ajax. Their emissary is none other than Henry Stanton, a distinguished and infuriatingly handsome scholar, and the man who once broke Mary's heart. Henry claims to believe that he believes in brilliant Mary, and that he only wants to help her obtain the respect she deserves. She knows she can't trust fellow scholars who want to discredit her and claim Ajax for her own, but can she even trust Henry, who seems intent on winning Mary back? Now Mary has a new mystery to solve that's buried deeper than any dinosaur. She must uncover the secrets behind the society and the truth about Henry. As her conscience begins to chafe against her ambition, Mary must decide what lengths she's willing to go to finally belong and what her heart really wants. Mary Anning this is interesting because Mary Anning is a real person that was involved with fossil hunting and was rejected from not the Geomagical Society of London, but I can't remember what the group was that didn't accept women. So this is an interesting take on history as well. So that could be a lot of fun. This is March 31st. So put that on the calendar. Like I said, this one gave me like feelings of Emily Wilde for sure. And I like the idea of a geomagician. I just want to know like what that's about. What is being a geomagician? What does that entail? All right. Nobody's Baby, another sequel series. This is Dorothy Gentleman #2. What was the first book? It was a novella. System Memory? Is that right? Or am I thinking of a Murderbot entry? Anyway, so yeah, I believe this is going to be another, 144 pages. So it's another novella. The first one was a space mystery, like a space whodunit kind of thing with a detective. So let's read and see what part 2 is going to look like. Becky Chambers meets Miss Marple in the second entry of the cozy sci-fi mystery series, helmed by a formidable, no-nonsense auntie of a detective. Welcome to the HMS Fairweather, Her Majesty's most luxurious interstellar passenger liner. Room and board are included. New bodies are graciously provided upon request, and should you desire a rest between lifetimes, your mind shall be most carefully preserved in glass in the library, shielded from every danger. A wild baby appears. Dorothy Gentleman, ship detective, is put to the test once again when an infant is mysteriously left on her nephew's doorstep. Fertility is supposed to be on pause during the Fairweather's journey across the stars, but humans have a way of breaking any rule you set them. Who produced the child, and why did they abandon him? And as her nephew and partner get more and more attached, how can Dorothy prevent her colleague and rival detective, LeLoop, a stickler for law and order, from classifying the baby as a stowaway or a piece of luggage? Told through Dorothy's delightfully shrewd POV, this novella series is an ode to the cozy mysteries taken to the stars with a fresh new sci-fi take. Perfect for fans of the plot-twisting narratives of Dorothy Sayers and Anne Leckie. This is a well-paced story. Will have readers captivated and hungry for the next installment. All right. This is March 10th. Excellent. Yeah, the first one was a lot of fun, and since they're novellas, they're really like easy to get through. They're digestible. You can read them in a day, have a fun mystery, and a really interesting setting as well. All right, this is a newer one that newer brought to my attention because we were watching the Gabby Reed's 2026 book recommendation list, and she's very much focused on like horror and thrillers, and this one just sounded intriguing. This is How to Survive in the Woods. Sleeping with the Enemy meets Wild in this page-turning thriller set in Maine's 100-mile wilderness, the treacherous final stretch of the storied Appalachian Trail, an addictive and disturbing tale of passion, betrayal, lies, and control that pulsates with erotic and psychological tension. No, that's fine. Emily Sharp knows how to stay alive. Raised by a doomsday prepper father and hardened by the startup world, she's learned to survive, adapt, and endure. First as a successful founder, and now as the wife of Logan Grant, a charismatic tyrant who's kept under her thumb ever since the breakdown that nearly ended her life. To Emma, the marriage is a necessary cage, the kind that keeps you in, but also keeps you safe. But when she forms an unexpected bond with Taylor Cognetti, Logan's former college sweetheart and business partner, a new dream begins to take shape, and with it, a plan to help her escape her controlling husband once and for all, on the punishing final stretch of the Appalachian Trail known as the 100-mile wilderness. After all, bad things happen in the woods all the time. As Emma, Taylor, and Logan venture deep into Maine's backcountry, desire and dread curdle to something unpredictable, dark, and deadly. Someone is lying, someone is watching, and in the remote heart of the forest, someone is about to be lost. Or found. How to Survive in the Woods is a heart-stopping knockout of a novel, by turns wryly witty, psychologically sophisticated, and deliciously diabolical. In her masterful hands, Kate Rosenfeld asks us to consider what it means to be a survivor, and what or who you would sacrifice to stay alive. So it seems like a very interesting drama, and possibly like thriller, horror elements in there as well. Very much looking forward to this one. The 10th of March. We'll put it on the list. All right. All right, next we have Hell's Heart, which I think I just read I don't know if I read the whole synopsis of this one. I might have just read the blurb at the top here. which was enough. Oh, another one that we can get a copy. I have to go back and do all those. So this is described as Gideon the Ninth meets Moby Dick in USA Today's best-selling author Alexis Hall's science fiction debut, Hell's Heart. I really like Gideon the Ninth. I think Harrow the Ninth, the second book in the series, was one of my favorite reads from last year. So I'm really excited when I see something compared to it, especially since we don't have a release date for the fourth book in the Locked Tomb series, which is going to be Alecto the Ninth. We don't know when that's coming out. So to hear that another book is like in the same vein is very exciting. It says Earth is a ruin, and the scattered remains of humanity scavenge what they can from the stars under the watchful auspices of a grab bag of collectives, corporations, and churches, which are all that remains of what we once called society. Having long exhausted any conventional sources of energy, life in the solar system is now sustained by a volatile, hallucinogenic substance called spermaceti, which is harvested from the brains of vast cetacean-like leviathans that swim the atmospheric currents of Jupiter. Finding herself with no money and little to occupy her ground side, the narrator, I, takes a commission aboard the Hunter Baroque Pequod as it sets out in pursuit of a precious spermaceti. Once aboard, however, she finds herself pulled inexorably into orbit of the bark's captain, a charismatic but fanatically driven woman whom the narrator names only A. As the Pequod plunges ever deeper into the turbulent, monster-haunted atmosphere of the gas giant, the narrator begins to lose herself in the eerie world of Leviathan hunting and the captain's increasingly insistent delusions. The only thing that might keep her grounded is the bond she develops with Q, a woman from the wreck of old Earth whose skin is marked with holographic light and who remembers things otherwise lost. Yeah, so there's definitely things we're drawing directly from Moby Dick. I'm curious about the idea of the characters only having letter names. Like I'm wondering if that's going to be purposeful. But it sounds intriguing, for sure. So March is also shaping up to be quite a lot of books coming out in March. All right, this is possibly our only comic for the list today. I am going to go back and do like manga releases and probably look up some comic books as well. But this is one that I heard about through Reddit and am interested in, even though I don't pick up a lot of I don't pick up a lot of Batman stuff. My wife picks up a lot of Batman stuff. She loves Nightwing. But of late I've read more Marvel and more like independent than I have DC. All right, this one says, experience some of Batman's earliest case files as he delves into the most dangerous corners of Gotham City. Up against a devastating serial killer dubbed the Wound Man, the Dark Knight is pushed to his physical and mental limits as the bodies pile up. A new serial killer is terrorizing Gotham City as MO seems to be torturing his victims to death with surgical precision. But there's more than just sadism at play. Batman soon realizes, and this newly christened Wound Man has more up his sleeve than just a brutal desire for violence. Set in the early years of Batman's career, Batman Dark Patterns Volume 1 pairs all-star creators Dan Watters and Hayden Sherman up to explore the mysteries that would go on to define the world's greatest detective as we know him today. So what I've heard about this one in particular is that it is like meant to be his early cases. So it's also meant to be more like street level villain and more of the mystery element to it. How this one is confusing because it says that it was first published September 16th of 2025 because that is the date of the first like weekly comic getting published. But I have it here as March 31st. is the date that I saw it being advertised for. So we'll add it here to the bottom. All right. Let's see. All right, now we're on to April. All right. Here is our schedule for March. Got something coming out pretty much every week. Got a break on that first week, though, which will be probably will be nice, honestly, because there's so much coming out in March. And now we're on to April. Very stately library here. All right. Again, feel free to drop your anticipated reads in the chat. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Chat about books. All right. The Language of Liars. I want to say this only came up on one person's list that we were watching. All right. Speak in other people's language, know them, become them, and discover you've destroyed them. In his training as a spy, Ro was told, you will always be living a lie. Jumping into a Star Eater's mind in the first place requires a moment of perfect psychic connection, and he has studied all his life to comprehend their species, admires them, respects them, is reverent at the idea of being one of them, the only species psychologically capable of mining the element needed for light-year spanning space travel. The species all others crave to know more of, who have notoriously shared so very little. The species Ro's own small civilization, with its dwindling resources and withering reach, needs to know more about. It will feel real, his elders impress upon him. It will never be real. But Ro's certainty runs he will be different. Ro will not be an imposter hiding in the truth of his past because his heart will be one of them. He will be one of them. To understand is to become. It never occurs to him that the mere act of understanding can destroy. Very interesting. So this is 21st of April. Language of Liars. It sounds very compelling. And I need to make sure that I'm writing it in the right color. Pulled out the purple for the one comic book. Need to move back to the blue. do, 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 do. 21st. Okay. Language of Liars. All right. Next up, we have The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances. My wife showed this to me today. And I was like, yeah. She was like, this sounds like your vibe. And I'm like, yeah, it does. So this is by Glenn Dixon. It says, in the near future, where even the smallest of appliances are sentient, a young Roomba vacuum sets out to save the humans of her house from a rising technological power in this compelling original novel. In a self-running smart house, a young and sentient Roomba listens to her owner, Harold, read aloud to his dying wife, Eddie. Mesmerized by To Kill a Mockingbird and craving the human connection she witnesses in Harold's story, the little vacuum renames herself Scout and embarks on a journey of self-discovery. But when Eddie passes away, Scout and her fellow sentient appliances discover that there are sinister forces in their midst. The omnipresent Grid, which monitors every household in the city, seeks to remove Harold from his home, a place he's lived in for 50 years. With the help of Adrian, a neighborhood boy who grows close to Scout and Harold, as well as Kate, Harold and Eddie's formerly estranged daughter, the humans and the appliances must come together to outwit the all-controlling Grid, lest they risk losing everything they hold dear. Yeah, this reminds me of Brave Little Toaster. If you're familiar with that old movie, I don't know, that's pretty old. So this is the 7th of April. The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances. yeah, this is not going to be the only weird, silly thing on the list. This is definitely like in my wheelhouse. I love this kind of bizarre premise. I think more books need to do crazy things. All right, The Caretaker. This I believe was on a number of the horror and thriller lists. And I want to say that this author, they probably listed on here. They had a previous book that a lot of people were talking about. And I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but I might pick that up first. I mean, this is coming out in April. We'll see how my reading's going. All right. Follow the Rights. Nothing less than survival of humanity is at stake. For Marcus Clearwater, a new titan of the macabre and unsettling, comes a supernatural horror about a young woman who accepts a caretaking job from Craigslist, only to discover the position has consequences far greater and more dangerous than she could ever have imagined. Exciting opportunity. Caretakers urgently needed. 3 days of work, competitive pay, serious applicants only. Macy Mullins can't say why the job posting grabbed her attention. It had the pull of a fisherman's lure, barbed hook and all, vaguely ominous. But after an endless string of failed job interviews, she's not exactly in the position to be picky. She has rent to pay, groceries to buy, and a younger sister to provide for. Besides, it's only 3 days' work. 3 days, cooped up in a strange house, surrounded by Oregon coast wilderness. What started as a peculiar side gig becomes a waking nightmare. An incomprehensible evil may dwell on this property, and Macy Mullins might just be the only thing standing between it and the rest of humanity. Follow the rights, follow the rights, follow the rights. We Used to Live Here is the title. It's on the cover. Oh, yeah, right there. We used to live here. But the right, We Used to Live Here. That's the one where we had the one the one booktuber who picked up the wrong We Used to Live Here, and it's apparently terrible. So we got to be careful. We got to pick up the right one. But this one sounds very intriguing. I am a big fan of supernatural horror. I know not everybody is, and it seems like there was a period of time where I was reading a lot of contemporary horror and contemporary thrillers that would like play with the idea of the supernatural and then walk it back later. This seems squarely fixed on having the supernatural element be a key idea within the story. So that's exciting on its own. Then the premise just sounds really great. So another one coming out on the 21st. Caretaker. All right. Next up, also on the 21st, we have Japanese Gothic. That's going to be an exciting day. Be a fun day. So this one is interesting. Like, I'm gravitating toward this because of the vibe, the trappings of it. I love Japanese culture and Japanese mythology, but also it seems like it's working with this like this parallel time story where we've got two different places in time that we're focusing on, and hopefully the stories will come together in an interesting way. So October 2026, Lee Turner doesn't remember how or why he killed his college roommate. The details are blurred and bloody. All he knows is he has to flee New York and go to the one place that might offer refuge, his father's new home in Japan, a house hidden by sword ferns and wild ginger. But something is terribly wrong with the house. No animals will come near it, the bedroom window isn't always a window, and a woman with a sword appears in the yard when night falls. October 1877. Sin is a young samurai in exile, hiding from the imperial soldiers in a house behind the sword ferns. A monster came home from war wearing her father's face, but Sen would do anything to please him, even turn her sword on her own mother. She knows the soldiers will soon slaughter her whole family when she sees a terrible omen, a young foreign man who appears outside her window. One of these people is a ghost, and one of these stories is a lie. That's also just super intriguing. That's like a really good hook to put on your description. Something is hidden beneath the house of sword ferns, and Lee and Sen will soon wish they had never unburied it. Sounds so good. I'm really hyped for this one. Know nothing about the author, but want to read it so bad. Also, gothic horror, another one of my like favorite types, like subgenres of horror. I like that it tends to be like slower building, which is nice. I like that a lot. All right, this one is in May, so we're moving over to May. April doesn't look too bad. The 21st is when everything comes out for me, though. So there's my April. I'm going to move on over to May. I think these go out to like September. So May, we've got this Storefront, Shakespeare and Company. Looks very cool. All right. I think this is a nonfiction read. Very short blurb on this one and no ratings. Some of these have like, early ratings, arcs that have been sent out. I guess this is far enough out they have not had anybody look at it yet. This also strikes me as one that I might have to like order. So there was a book last year, Authority Essays, that I could not find in any store anywhere, and I ended up just listening to the audiobook. This says, from the newly appointed National Ambassador of Young People's Literature, a timely and intimate meditation on the ways we think about and interact with children's literature and what that says about our opinions of children and childhood. So, pretty sure this is nonfiction and just an interesting look at children's literature and how we interpret it. What do we take away from it? Again, not too much information on it, but sounds very intriguing. Teddy bears never die. There was one page. This does not have a cover yet, but I saw a page that had a cover, and the bear was gigantic. It looked like a kaiju. So this is another horror-mance. This is the horror-mance year. The horror-mance genre mashup you've been waiting for. From the award-winning Korean author Cho Yin comes a new novel where a young girl and a teddy bear team up to enact revenge. Yes. A poisoned city, a grieving daughter, a boy trapped in a bear's body. When the fledgling coastal town of Yamu is rocked by a mass poisoning attack at the Seaview Park, the luxury high-rise meant to revitalize the city, Hwa-young is one of many who lost family members, except she has never believed that her mother was poisoned. Now fueled by grief and a desire for revenge, Hwa-young spends her time hustling to save every penny and bring those responsible to justice. Across town, Doha wakes up in a teddy bear and realizes something sinister has taken his body. When fate brings Hwa-young and Doha together, the two team up for a revenge quest that will shake the city's shiny facade to its rotten core. This time, revenge is not just personal, it's supernatural. Yes, everything about this, yes. Oh my gosh. This is interesting. So it says 21st of May. That's a Thursday. Everything else is a Tuesday. I'll put it down. I don't know if that's when it's going to come out. But oh my gosh. Yes to everything that's going on in this premise. All right. Next up, we have Make Me Better. This one is the one that I feel like it's another one that has a really short blurb, and like a lot of it feels like obscured. Like I don't quite know what's going on, but it's compelling. It compels me. It's intriguing. Make Me Better. You were pure once. You can be made pure again. Celia is so tired of being alone. All she wants is to have a family, to belong to someone. That's why she's going to Kindred Cove for the annual Salt Festival held by the secluded community that lives there. They promise that healing is possible. They promise that transformation is inevitable. There is no grief at Kindred Cove because there's no suffering. Nothing is ever lost. Celia knows that, at the mysterious island surrounded by the impossible, ever-growing reef, she will find herself. She's ready to be healed. She's ready to be transformed. She's ready to believe. It's 400 pages. I have no idea what this is going to be. But like I said, it's intriguing. It captivates me. It presents a world that I am already dubious of and want to know what is really going on. And I think that's really impressive given, 4 very short paragraphs, some like single word paragraphs on here. Very, very cool sounding. All right. The Library After Dark. Oh, did I put boop? All right. I'm apparently currently reading Teddy Bears Never Die because I messed up. Man. All right. Here we go. Library After Dark. A bookseller must escape the infamously haunted library that holds her darkest secrets. But with a murderer in her tour group, escaping alive is not as simple as it seems in this twisty locked room thriller from best-selling author of You Are Fatally Invited. He's trying to dig up the skeletons in her closet. She'll do anything to keep them buried. Arya Stokes is finally feeling settled. She lives in a tiny New York apartment, works as a bookseller at a local shop, and even has taken a leap of faith into love by indulging her attraction to bookstore regular Jasper. And he seems to already know her so well. As a Valentine's Day surprise, Jasper gets the two of them tickets to an exclusive After Dark tour of the Daedalus Library, the grandiose establishment famed for its immersive genre-based reading rooms and, more notoriously, its rumored hauntings. While Arya normally loves all things ghastly, this place holds more dark secrets than she'd prefer Jasper to know, like that last time she was there and left a body behind. But when the automatic door entry malfunctions, and Arya, Jasper, and the 5 other people in their tour group become trapped in the library, they are forced to venture through the storied rooms and hidden passageways of the Daedalus in search of escape, and Arya quite literally has nowhere to hide from the shadows of her past. Then the group learns there's a murder in their midst. Now, as she tries to break out of the library's intricate reading rooms, Arya has to decide who she can trust and what secrets are best kept buried if she wants to make it out alive. Again, things that take place in the library, already love it. Thriller, mystery, murder, all of that stuff is great. Dark past, like she's already killed someone or she left a body behind. That's vague, right? So someone could have died and she could have left them behind. But sounds amazing, sounds great. Definitely looking forward to this one. Library After Dark. All right. This one was on 2 different lists that I watched. Both of them predominantly like mystery thriller channels. And this seems like an interesting like woman revenge story. So I'm very much like in the mood to read. A dark, provocative, adrenaline rush of a novel about a graduate student who murders bad men and justifies it in the name of feminism by a bold new voice in fiction. Yrsa is in a funk. She's bored of her PhD program, bored of her research on Afro-pessimism, bored of the entitled undergrad she has to cater to, but most of all, she's bored of the men in her life, especially the bad ones. When her best friend Nina confesses to having an affair with her professor and that he's stolen her research, Yrsa is mad. On the quad, Yrsa bumps into the professor and witnesses his unfortunate incident involving his San Pellegrino and a bee allergy. What she sees that afternoon awakens something something in a taste for murder. Emboldened, Yrsa decides to chase that high, and soon no sexist, misbehaving man with commuting distance is safe. With each murder, Yrsa feels a great sense of meaning and purpose. Finally, her doctoral research feels useful, but how long can killing in the name of feminism and racial solidarity justify her actions? Will her rampage ever assuage her feelings of rage and revenge? And how long until her actions and buried family secrets come back to haunt her? It just sounds fun. Like it's hard to make murder, psychopath, main character like relatable and make it like readable. But I enjoyed reading You'd Look Better as a Ghost, which had a very similar sounding protagonist. Um, and here we have this person who is like just starting out on this this like murder spree. Not something I would condone in real life, obviously. But there it's fun to read about these characters. So I'm definitely interested in this one. This is May 5th. Man, May 5th is another day that's just going to be chock full of releases. All right. Platform Decay. This is another one that I'm probably not going to read the description of because it is Murderbot Diaries number 8. It's also on the 5th of May. Man, I hope no manga comes out on the 5th of May because I'm not going to have space. I don't know if I'm going to pick this one up day one because I have only read the novellas so far, the first 4 books in the series, and there are 3 other like full novel length stories that I've not picked up yet. But I want to remember that it's coming out, and I want to try to shoot for maybe having a few more read before we get to that date. Just so I can maybe pick it up soon after and read it and catch up with the series. Really love this series. It's about a robot that's kind of like disaffected with the world. They just want to watch their shows and they don't want to be around people. They're kind of a misanthrope. And it's just another one of those character concepts that doesn't feel like it would work. But is really funny, and they have to like they begrudgingly help people, sometimes because it's in their best interest, and sometimes it's because they genuinely do care. They just have a really hard time of showing it. I don't think I've ever related more to a automaton in fiction than I did with the first 4 Murderbot Diaries. Oh my god, what is going on with the 5th of May? Like, everything's coming out that day. I'm gonna get slammed with books. The Last Contract of Isako, also expected the 5th of May. I did not look at the dates for all these when I was putting the list together. I was just saying, these look cool. And now, May 5th is like going to be a real busy week. The Last Contract of Asako sounds super cool. It says, get ready to be blown away by this searing standalone space opera. Okay, first of all, standalone, thank you. I'm already reading. I made a list, and I got up to like 40 series, and I stopped. I was like, that, I don't, I've thought about as many as I can, and I wasn't even counting a bunch of the YA I got through Fairy Loot. But standalone, yes, more of that, please. Get ready to be blown away by this searing standalone space opera where corporate samurai fight beneath merciless stars, and death is always a mere breath away. Isako is a legendary swordsman, but every legend has to come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow, to walk out in the frozen wasteland of their planet with her head held high and her family enriched by her legacy. But when a competitor offers her a final mission, it's one she can't refuse. Soon she's thrust deep into a world of corporate espionage, duty-bound duels, and shadowy secrets. What she uncovers will change humanity's existence in the stars forever. The Last Contract of Asako is a space opera you didn't know you needed. Corporate samurai in space. This is the first adult science fiction novel from the award-winning author of Jade City. I am familiar with Jade City. I've not read that series, but this just sounded cool. I dig a good space opera, and it kind of gives me maybe Amina al-Sarafi vibes. The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, which we'll keep that in mind because we're going to touch on that in a moment. But just this idea of like this like past their prime badass character who has to go in for one last job, or maybe Kings of the Wild I also read recently, which had a similar vibe of like in a fantasy realm. But here we're going to be doing it as a space opera, so that sounds like a lot of fun. Oh my god, it was the next one! Also in May, but not on the 5th, thank God. The Tapestry of Fate is Amina al-Sarafi #2. I think I want to do a reread of al-Sarafi #1. I listened to it on audiobook, and while I definitely enjoyed the story, I feel like thinking back on it, there's some points in the middle that I don't quite recall as strongly as I would like to. So I think this might be one, but I really liked it. So I think this might be one that I reread before the second book comes out. Set sail into the second adventure of Amina al-Sarafi in her quest to track down magical artifacts brings her to the island lair of the sorceress, whose woven enchantments are impossible to flee. Amina al-Sarafi thinks she struck gold, tasked with hunting down magical artifacts for the Council of Immortal Pyrrhus. She can savor the occasional adventure on the high seas with their cherished criminal companions, while still returning to her home to raise her beloved daughter. But when Raksh, the spirit of discord with whom she is reluctantly wed, provokes the council's wrath, Amina is charged with a seemingly impossible quest: steal a spindle capable of rewriting fate from a mysterious sorceress on an island no one can escape. Forced to leave her daughter, Amina finds her mission almost immediately thrown into peril. But deadly storms, an erratic poison mistress, old enemies are the least of her worries. For the Peril's story is unraveling, hinting at a far deadlier game, whose rules Amina must swiftly puzzle out. A game that sets her against an adversary more cunning and powerful than she has ever faced. A game that not everyone on her crew wants her to win. Ooh, a lot of good stuff being brought up from that first book again. So yeah, loved the first book. Super excited for the second one. That's on the 19th. Tapestry of Fate. If you've not read The Adventures of Amina al-Sarafi, I highly recommend it. It was such a good story. I'm sad that I waited as long as I did to pick it up. All right, we're into June now. Woo! All right. Let's move this here. So here's my May. So a couple of gaps. Don't have anything on the 26th, but the 5th is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different books on one day. So that'll keep me busy. All right, here is the June library. Another very pretty and like stately library photo. All right, this is Marion. This is like a twist on Psycho. So that's the very first line. A twist on Hitchcock's iconic classic Psycho, where the leading lady doesn't die, but instead turns the knife on Norm, kicking off a crime spree that turns the silver screen victim into a heroine for our time. Norman was her first. Marion is in deep. She's stolen money from the Manhattan ad agency where she works in a desperate bid to help her sister escape an abusive marriage, but the bus breaks down before she can make it to Saratoga Springs. It's late at night, and the only place with vacancies is an old set of cabins in the outskirts of town. She pays for a room in cash and ends up chatting with Norm, the young innkeeper who's handsome, charming, and a touch hung up on his elderly mother. Back in her room, she steps in the shower, scrubbing off the late summer heat when the curtain is pulled back. Norm Billings is there with a knife. He raises his arm to strike, but before he does, Marion knees him in the balls, grabs the knife, and stabs the life out of him. Now she's covered in blood, and she's a woman on the run. Not just a thief, but a killer too. Where will she go? How will she save both herself and her sister? And what mysteries will she uncover as she does? In Psycho, Hitchcock shocked audiences when he killed off his protagonist. But what if the leading lady had fought back? Marion offers an alternate history of the most famous dead blonde to ever grace the silver screen. Only this time, the knife is in her hands. She's no victim. I like the idea of taking a story premise and changing one detail and seeing where it leads you. I'm a big fan of Alfred Hitchcock films. Psycho is probably not my favorite. I like Rear Window quite a bit. But like it's a classic of like horror and suspense. And so to see someone take that and like just do a little twist of the story. I like that with fairy tales. I read a lot of like reimaginings of fairy tales. And this is just that same thing with a different genre with horror, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is on the 2nd of June. We'll put it onto the calendar with the right pen. Not the one I'm just clicking. All right. I feel like Sublimation was another one that was just kind of like, I don't quite know what to make of this, but it sounds like a really interesting idea for a story. Sublimation is the debut novel by Isabel J. Kim, winner of 2 Nebula Awards, the Locus Award and British Science Fiction Award, and the Shirley Jackson Award, and a finalist for the 2025 Hugo Award and the 2023 Astounding Award. Wow, all right. The border cuts you in two. When you immigrate, you leave a copy of yourself behind. One person enters their new country, the other stays trapped at home. Some instances keep in touch, call each other daily, keep their lives and minds in sync in the hopes of reintegrating and resuming life as one person. Others, like So-Young Rose Kang, leave home at 10 and never speak to their other selves again. Rose, in America, never imagined going back to Korea until her grandfather dies, and a Korean instance calls her home for the funeral. When she arrives, she discovers that So-Young plans to steal her body and live her life whether Rose wants to reintegrate or not. Sublimation is a literary speculative fiction novel that pits the lives we choose against the lives we leave behind. It's an immigrant story like no other, capturing the longing for another life and twisting it into a dangerous game of cat and mouse. So again, just a really interesting premise here. This idea of like you split into two people. This is also reminding me of one of the Alastair Reynolds books. It's the second in the Poseidon Wake trilogy. The children I think it's the Children of Poseidon trilogy. But I can't remember the title, and I don't see it. Just gazing over here. But in that book, there was a character that had split herself into 3 bodies and 3 minds, and then every so often it would like upload, and she would get the memories of the other 2 people that were also her. And so there was a lot of play there with like she would remember having children that she doesn't have. They're not her kids. And she would remember these moments in her life that didn't happen to her. And this seems like another premise that's really ripe with possibilities of what you could do with this idea of splitting your consciousness, especially since they stay separate for so long. So also June 2nd. So add that to the list. All right. I've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got about 9 more left. A little under 10. And then, like I said, we'll go through my upcoming releases and see if we missed anything. This one sounded weird. Again, I'm really... if there's one way to guarantee that I take another look at your book, it's to make it weird. Every instinct tells him to run. Every memory tells him he can't. Special Agent Daniel Stansfield is ready for a change. Burnt out and defeated by the job, it's his last day with the FBI. Oh man, it was 1 day away from retirement. But before he can turn in his badge, he's summoned back to Denver, the city he's run from 4 years ago, with a chilling message. It's happening again. Seemingly innocent people are waking up on the side of the highway with no memory of how they got there, wearing the skin of victims they allegedly never met. And they each share one haunting detail. A strand of a stranger's hair is tied around their tongue. Now Daniel is pulled back into the gruesome cycle, and every clue leads him deeper into the shadows of his own past. He will have to confront the ghosts of his traumatic childhood and face what's been hunting him all along, before he and the people he loves become the next victims. Perfect for fans of The Shining and Longlegs, best-selling author C.J. Leeds' Headlights is a pulse-pounding hunt across the frozen wilderness of Colorado. Sounds crazy, but in the best way. This is the 9th of June, so we'll put that on the list. All right. Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep. This is a Paul Tremblay. I've been kind of hit or miss with Paul Tremblay. I've read some of his short fiction, like his short story collections, and I've liked some of what was in there. Man. But what did I read? The Pallbearers Club. I didn't get through that one. I started it, and then it kind of just like, I think it got returned to the library, and I never picked it up again. So he's kind of hit or miss for me. This is a premise that sounds really intriguing. It says Philip K. Dick meets the Coen brothers in this genre-bending near-future tech nightmare that is as bitingly funny as it is horrifically believable, from the New York Times best-selling author of Horror Movie. Oh, he wrote Horror Movie too. That's right. I didn't like Horror Movie. Oh no. Meet Julia Flang, a 20-something former semi-professional gamer living with her retired uncle and working 2 jobs she doesn't like. Out of the blue, her estranged mother, a CFO for one of the world's largest tech companies, offers her a temp job with a payday Julia can't refuse. One sham interview later, she's offered to chaperone a man in a vegetative state with only proprietary AI implanted in his head from California to the East Coast. To sum up, in Julia's own, you want me to remote control this dead dude across the country? In a word, yes, but he's not dead. Meet a middle-aged man who wakes within a disorientating hellscape filled with monsters' grotesqueries. Worse than the fluid, morphing reality in which he's trapped, he has no memory of who he is. He certainly doesn't remember getting the rabbit tattoo on his arm. He only knows that he must find a certain person. Who? He can't remember. Using a cell phone modeled after a video game controller, Julia fumblingly navigates the man she calls Bernie from the company campus and onto planes and through one of the largest airports in America. All the while, the man endures the ever-changing and worsening nightmare that offers clues as to who he was and who he must track down. And as their 2 lives intertwine, Julia and Bernie become unlikely allies and fugitives in a collision course with reality. Dead But Dreaming of Electric Sheep is a heady, horrific genre bender from one of the most groundbreaking voices in fiction today. So the premise sounds really cool. I'm definitely putting it down, but I'm a little worried because, like I said, Tremblay's not been my favorite. But like I just said, the way to make me pick up your book is to make the premise insane and bizarre. And this definitely fits the bill. So we will be checking it out come June. All right. Oh, now we're in July. So June, so not wholly unexpected. June's a little sparse. We only got 3 titles out there right now. I might revisit this idea in June or around there, because then we'll have a better idea of what is happening with the latter half of the year. Here's July's picture in our calendar. I want shelves like this. Floor to ceiling. All right. Sea of Charms. This is Spell Shop number 3. I've read Spell Shop 1 and 2. I liked both. Nothing groundbreaking, but just a cozy, romantic-y story. Easy to read. I'm curious because the Enchanted Greenhouse, which I think was number 2, had tangential connections to the first book. And so I'm curious if this one is also going to have some sort of indirect connection, that you could draw a line from the first 2 books to this book, and they all kind of relate vaguely to one another or not. Marin is a supply runner with her own boat that she sails from island to island, delivering what anyone will pay her to deliver: letters, flour, even the occasional enchanted lemur. It's a lonely life, but it's hers, and she wouldn't trade the freedom of the sea for anything. Her only companion is a sea serpent, Perry, whom she saved from a fisherfolk's net. One day she sails to Elysium and discovers the city is on fire. There's been a revolution and the empire has fallen. Marin with Perry begins transporting refugees, finding them new homes where they can start over. One such refugee is Dax, a composer who refuses to leave behind his instruments, no matter how much he tries to emphasize the gravity of the situation. Intrigued by his stubbornness, his passion for stories, and his charming smile, Marin discovers perhaps she isn't saving him. Maybe it's the other way around. Yeah. So that the escape from the burning city could definitely be a way that we could tie in some other characters here. And this is not until the 28th of July, so that's pretty late into the month as well. So Destination Funeral. I think this is one of our time loop stories. We found a few time loops in the list we were reading that I'm excited to take a look at. 4 Friends, 1 Funeral, an Endless Saturday. Yeah, this is the time loop one. When Babe, the complicated magnetic matriarch of their teenage summers, dies, 4 estranged friends return to sleepy Mercy Island, a storm-swept stretch of coastal Georgia, summoned by the reading of her will. Didion expects nothing more than an awkward visit with her sister and maybe a sun-drenched funeral attended by beer-soaked locals. Instead, she arrives at the time-worn pink house to find the friends she never thought she'd see again, along with tensions, attractions, and unfinished business that once bound them together and blew them apart. What should be a brief weekend of small talk quickly unravels, because the next morning, it's Saturday again. And again, and again. Trapped in a time loop with no end and no instructions, they're forced to confront their betrayals, breakups, and buried truths that shattered them 10 years ago. Something on the island isn't ready to let them go, and if they can't find a way to fix things, it may never let them leave. Sounds great. I love a good time loop story, and this seems like it is dealing with the core of a lot of time loop stories is this idea of like there's something that has not been fixed, there's not something that hasn't gone right, there's something you need to change and like become, improve, become better. And this definitely seems like it is running with that concept where they've got lots of secrets that they need to reveal to one another. The Big Bad Book of Kaiju. I don't think I need to elaborate or even read this synopsis, but I will. I love me some kaiju, and I'm super excited that it is mainstream enough to warrant getting a bunch of authors together to write a short story collection. A thrilling and cataclysmic collection of city-smashing titans and the desperate coalitions of humanity clinging to survival in the wreckage, from the New York Times bestselling and multiple award-winning editors. Featuring best-selling and award-winning authors such as Genevieve Du, Christopher Golden, Shannon McGuire, Scott Singler, and Steve Alten, author of The Meg, an explosive collection of monster terror featuring 25 original tales of creatures the size of skyscrapers, see cities shattered and worlds ended as great beasts rise from the deep. Yes, please. This is definitely in my wheelhouse, and I'm sure, like almost every short story collection I've ever read, this will be hit or miss. But I'm super excited for it. I'm so glad that we could get a kaiju book. That's super cool. It's in August, so we've already exhausted July. 2 books for July, and toward the end too. Didn't have anything on the 7th or the 14th. It's a very pretty August picture. Nice little bookshelf. One day I'll learn how to move on camera and not look like I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But today is not that day. All right. 25th of August. Ooh, August is one of those months that has to have little extra bits on the side. Hopefully, yeah, that's a Sunday and a Monday, so we don't have to worry about it. All right, Big Bad Book of Kaiju. Okay. Oop. Alrighty. Devil Inside, a novel. I believe this is another horror romance. I'm telling you guys, horror romance, romancer, whatever portmanteau we're going to use for this is big. It's big next year. A man who's back from the dead meets a woman who's from somewhere even worse, and Clay McLeod Chapman's new horror-mance. Oh, we're going with horror-mance. Okay. Horror-mance about love, possession, and just a little murder. After a traumatic accident that almost cost Jordan his life, he's finally starting to feel normal again. Well, maybe not normal. Everything tastes like ash, and when he looks at people around him, their faces start to melt. At least he's not dead, right? His friends are doing their best to get him back on his feet, maybe find someone to talk to, perhaps even find someone to take his mind off his last failed relationship. Then he meets Lilith. The two share an instant connection, but after a wild and passionate night together, she ghosts him. Jordan searches the city for Lilith, desperate to see her again, but when a woman claiming to be Lilith shows up, wearing a different face but knowing intimate details about Jordan, he worries he's losing his grip on reality. As he goes closer to the mysterious woman, he discovers that happily ever after sometimes comes at a cost. How far will Lilith take him, and how much darkness will he embrace to find love? Sounds great. Devil Inside. Hey, for those just coming in, if you want to chat about your exciting upcoming releases, if you know something that's coming out in 2026 that you're looking forward to, drop it in the chat. We can chat about it. We can talk about it. Heartstopper number 6. Okay, so we did have another comic. I thought it was just going to be the one Batman. This is coming out. Oh, this is July. Oopsie. Gotta turn back. I love Heartstopper. it is not something that I would have expected to enjoy as much as I have. Um, but I feel like it is a really well written exploration of teen drama that doesn't dip into melodrama. It seems like very realistic, um, and the characters are very well rounded. They've managed to make it to where there are conflicts on both sides of several different relationships, that feel believable, and like nobody is a saint and nobody is horrible. It's just different struggles that they're having. And I think that um my I had I don't know if I've still got these. I had some copies in my classroom library, and I feel like kids took them and would read them and really identify with what was going on. So I think it's a really important book and a really well written book. Um, Even though, like I said, I was hesitant to pick it up at the start, I really enjoyed it. All right, this is another one that is the next book in a series that I'm not quite caught up with. But unlike Dresden and Murderbot, I'm only one book behind on this one. I only have to read Yuli, and then I will be caught up with Guardians of Dawn. This series is kind of like Sailor Moon, like YA Sailor Moon, maybe, where you've got these different girls who all have like different powers, different backgrounds, and they're all having to come together to fight against this like evil shadow encroachment that's going on in their world. I've read two so far. I've read what was it, Zara and Ami, and I think the story loop has kind of shown itself in those two books. So it seems like each one is going to focus on one of the Guardians of Dawn. They're going to have kind of the foil dark force that they have to fight against. So if you think like a Super Sentai equivalent or like Sailor Moon equivalent, it'd be like one of the generals of the army. That's not the main big bad. And then I think once we get everybody together, we'll probably have one final book where it is dealing with the big bad, the main Shadow Queen. I can't remember her name. And it's another one that I don't want to read the description of just because I've not read Yuli, and I worry that if I read the description, I will get spoilers for the previous book. He says, knowing that he's read descriptions of sequels that people in the chat have probably not read yet. All right, and this is the furthest out that we got, was a September 1st book with Kiss Slay Replay. This is the other time loop story. So Horrormance and time loop thrillers. I'll have to see what this one says. All right. Every wedding guest's worst nightmare is on repeat in this wild and twisty new horror novel from New York Times bestselling author of So Thirsty and Play Nice. It's the picture-perfect wedding. The venue is dreamy, the weather is beautiful, love is in the air, and Willa Sullivan is having a bad time. She is excited to celebrate her best friend finally having a big wedding they've all wanted. This is the first time she's seen her ex-fiancé in months, and he brought a date. Everything feels off, like she stumbled into an alternate universe. But things start to look up when Willa meets Danny, the groom's charming and single childhood best friend. When they sneak off together, their rendezvous is interrupted by a masked killer terrorizing the reception. That was sudden. Willa and Danny fight to save the ones they love and survive the night, but the killer is unrelenting. A final girl Willa is not. Or is she? She wakes up in the morning of the wedding. She just has the most intense nightmare of her life. Only as the day unfolds, there's some uncanny coincidences that make her question whether it was really a dream, deja vu, or something more sinister. After a horrifying turn of events, Willow comes to understand that she is stuck in a loop of carnage and terror that she must learn to escape, or else suffer a fate worse than death, being an eternal wedding guest. Terrible. Being at a wedding. So this is giving me what's the one time loop horror movie? Happy Death Day. This is giving me Happy Death Day vibes. Where it's a horror recursion, so like I imagine she'll have to eventually like build up her skills in order to fend off the killer. At least that would be my uh my inference, my guess as to what's going to happen in that book. All right, that is all that I've compiled a list of so far. But Goodreads also has this nice setup under new releases where you can look at new releases from authors that you have read in the past. And so going through this, we might catch a few that we didn't get the first time round. So let's see. Isabel Ibranez, I don't think I want to read another from that author. We got 12 months here. We got A World of Wyverns. This is all January, by the way. King of Beasts, King Alaric, Felsing, A Lone Wolf, A Frozen Heart, Deep in the Mountains of a Snow-Swept Kingdom, An Ancient Peace is Stirring. Probably not. This Ends Tonight presents 3 intertwining tales of revenge that tears through Las Vegas on a single action-packed night. I think this is comic. Yeah, this is a comic. What did I read from this person? X-Men and Deadpool? Didn't read that. Inhumans and Hellshock. Didn't read either one of those either. What? Exquisite Corpses? I'm trying to figure out, what did I read that... Oh, this is readers also enjoyed. Where's the author page? I'm curious what I read that is bringing this up. I don't know. Like the name's not ringing a bell, and nothing in this list is something I read this year. That's weird. I'm not going through 49 pages of this guy's backlog though. Maybe I'll add that later. Prodigy Library Edition. Oh, Mark Miller. No, thank you. All right, we got Agnes Albert's Mystical Cat Shelter, Operation Bounce House, Her Last Breath. This is Taylor Adams. I read a Taylor Adams thriller, I want to say year before last. It was all right. I might circle back and look at that one. But I feel like this is one that I heard a description of in one of the horror thriller recaps and was not super invested in. To the death, 2 teens are pitted against each other in a magical duel for revenge. They have to fight their growing attraction first. Probably not. Caller Unknown. Only a Gillian McAllister thriller can make your heart race and then your heart melt from one page to the next. I'm a devoted fan. Absolute Batman, I am honestly tempted to take a look at some point. I've just heard such great things about Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Martian Manhunter. It seems like a lot of the books coming out of that line are really strong. So I might end up picking something up with Absolute Batman next year. A haunting, atmospheric, modern gothic horror tale based on traditional Irish mythology from The Watchers. No, I don't think so. The Watchers was okay. All Hail Chaos, I'm not going to end up getting. I did not care for Long Live Evil. Something is Killing the Children, Volume 9, I will be adding, but like I said earlier, I kind of want to do comics and manga like as their own thing because it's going to be a different. I have to look it up a different way. I have to look it up by series to find out because there's going to be more than just this one coming out next year. One World Under Doom, Beatrix and the Unicorn, inspired by the famous Unicorn Tapestries, acclaimed author illustrator Lita Judge weaves together a beautiful picture book about a servant girl searching for a real unicorn. No, it's a picture book. Interesting. Again, I wonder what I read to put that in my recommended. Another Mark Miller. No, thank you. Kaya Volume 5. I think I need this is like the fourth series so far. I think I need to read one more before I can pick up Kaya 5. But Kaya, if you're not familiar with it, is probably the best sci-fantasy graphic novel being released right now. And if you have not read it, you should read it. Finley Donovan. I read the first Finley Donovan, and this is like the sixth. The next installment. I wish it would tell me how many. So no on that. Oh, I think we had just seen this earlier today. Wolfworm, a new T. Kingfisher, is coming out. This one I might put on. Let's take a look at this one. Something darker than the devil stalks the North Carolina woods in Wolfworm, a new gothic masterpiece from New York Times bestselling author T. Kingfisher. I really like T. Kingfisher. The year is 1899, and Sonia Wilson is a scientific illustrator without work, prospects, or hope. When the reclusive Dr. Halder offers her a position illustrating his vast collection of insects, Sonia jumps at the chance to move to his North Carolina manor house and put her talents to use. But soon enough, she finds there are darker things at work in the Carolina woods. What happened to her predecessor, Halder's wife? Why are animals acting so strangely? And what is behind the peculiar local whispers about blood thieves? With the aid of a housekeeper and local healers, Sonia discovers that Halder's entomological studies have taken him down a dark road full of parasitic maggots that burrow into human flesh. His monstrous experiments may grow to encompass his newest illustrator as well. Yeah, it sounds good. Like begrudgingly adding things to my list. Yeah, I guess. Just because it sounds awesome. I'll put it on the list. March 24th. I should probably I'm not gonna be able to read that later. It's my own fault. All right. The Faraway Inn. Sarah Beth Durst. You're going to write them down yourself. You're going to put them on the calendar. So Sarah Beth Durst has two things coming out in the same year? After a devastating heartbreak, a teen girl decides to spend her summer helping her eccentric aunt manage her quaint Vermont inn. This fixer-upper is hiding a magical secret in this cozy and irresistible new fantasy. New York Times bestselling author of The Spell Shop. 16-year-old Kalisa is desperate for a change in scenery after her lying ex ruins her perfect Brooklyn summer. When her parents suggest she heads to rural Vermont to help her great aunt run her cozy bed and breakfast for a few months, she jumps at the chance. But when Kalisa arrives at the B&B, she's shocked to find a rundown inn with only a handful of guests. And to make matters worse, upon meeting her great aunt, it quickly becomes clear that Kalisa was not invited. Auntie Z is determined to keep anyone from messing with her beloved inn, even if it's clear she needs the help. To earn her keep, Kalisa sets to work fixing up the inn, enlisting extra help from the groundskeeper's handsome son. But the longer she stays, the more it becomes evident that there is something strange about the B&B and its residents, something almost otherworldly. The inn is keeping a magical secret, but to protect the place she's come to love, Kalisa must unravel the truth of it and her aunt before it's too late. That might be something I look into if I hear good things, but I don't think I'm going to add it to the list, just sight unseen. Wretch, Eric LaRocca. Is it a short story collection? No, it looks like just a regular book. From rising star horror and award-winning author of Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke comes a nightmarish, haunting, tech gothic thrill ride about sorrow, memory, and the unabashed complexity of love as a transgressive act. After his husband dies, Simeon Link finds himself overcome by grief and seeking comfort in an unusual support group called the Wretches, who offer an addictive and dangerous source of relief. They introduce Simeon to a curious figure known as Porcelain Caw, a man with the ability to let those who are grieving have one last intimate moment with their beloved, for a price. Hallucinatory, fiendish, and destructively beautiful, Wretch transports us to a world where not everything is as it seems, and those we love may be the ones that haunt us most. I mean, it sounds okay. I'm not. Eric LaRocca's short fiction was definitely hit or miss for me, and the premise doesn't sound quite captivating enough for me to just put it on there. Brighter Than 9. Is this sequel of Darker Than 4? I think it is. If it's not, then let's see. It's at the top? Yeah, it is Darker by 4. It is Darker by 4, number 2. Darker by 4, number 2. Listen. No to picking it up right away, but maybe eventually. Uri Tupka and the Gods. A wayward theologian travels across mysterious lands and goes up against mythic monsters, bandits, and more in pursuit of proof of the existence of the old gods. Oh, Mike Mignola. Maybe, but again, it's a comic, so I will do that later. Tapestry of Fate. Japanese Gothic. Oh, the Escape Game. This is one that we were just talking about as well. This one I'm probably going to add. An unforgettable YA murder mystery set in an escape room themed game show by Marissa Meyer. #1 New York Times bestselling author of the Lunar Chronicles, and Tamara Moss, rising star and acclaimed author of the Lin Tang series. It's all fun and games until someone ends up dead. 6 months ago, season 4 of the Escape Game ended in horror when contestant Alicia Angelos was found murdered on set. Now season 5 is underway somehow. And new contestants are ready to put their skills to test solving the show's trickiest escape rooms. There's Addie, the cryptographer, Carter, the math whiz, Beck, the wannabe game master, and Sarah Angelos, the girl who got away with her sister's murder, or so everyone believes. But Sarah's not just here to win, she's here for justice. When the contestants begin uncovering clues that hint at the identity of Alice's true killer, it becomes clear that the stakes aren't high in this competition, they're deadly. These teens want to win and survive the game. They must solve the biggest mystery of who killed Alicia Angelos. Yeah, I mean, could be fun. Could be fun. April 7th. Wait. Okay, no, that's not the Crazy Day. The Escape Game. Added to the list. All right. Another TJ Klune's coming out. I have not read the second book in this series, and I want to read the second book before I decide if I'm gonna read the third one. To Kill These Monstrous Gods is already on my want to read. Do I want to pick this up day one? I don't know. 6th of April. I'll get it for the cover alone, because that cover art's gorgeous. This is the one that that had the big old controversy around it. 6th of April. 6th of April. Interesting. But I do feel like a sequel could potentially clear up some of the issues people were having with the first book. Infinite Shores. Oh no. That's a sequel to a book as well. Paranormal Payback. The minds of 5 normal people merge in a beautiful, unnerving first contact story. The strangest thing humanity has to face is each other. Story collection. What's a short story collection? The paranormal one. This one? No, I have already marked this as one to read as well. 14th of April. Urban Fantasy Short Story Collection. Sure. This is the one that's from this is the one from The Sleeping Giants. This is the other one that Amanda was talking about. Let's read the synopsis. The minds of 5 normal people merge into a beautiful, unnerving first contact story where the strangest thing humanity has to face each other. Critically acclaimed author of Sleeping Giants. I'm you now. We all are. When advertising executive Carol Villo loses it at Booker's donut shop and bites Booker on the arm, it's about the most interesting thing to happen in the small city of Marquette, Michigan in years. But that's only the beginning of the story. Carol and Booker find their minds merging in a collective that extends to include Carol's husband, Shervans, and a local doctor, Evelyn Schlapp. The 4 of them become the beginning of something larger and stranger than they could ever have imagined. I know I literally just told Amanda that I might want to read more of Sleeping Gods first, but that sounds good. I should have listened to her. When will I learn that I should listen to my wife? All right. 21st of April. April's looking busy. All right. I know who did it, but I just can't prove it. Alex North. Every year, Detective David Groves receives a birthday card from his son, even though he buried him years ago. His son's murder took everything from him, apart from his belief in the law. All right. I'm intrigued enough to read more. Even his belief in the law, even though the killers were never found. This year, though, the card bears a different I know who did it. Meanwhile, a woman who died in a car accident is claiming to be back from the dead with a terrifying account of what she's been through. The answer to both lies with the kind of people you want to run from, and uncovering the truth means going through hell. Oh, thank you. um, Alex North. Oh, wait. I think I know who this is. And yeah, this sounds like their book. Yeah, this is the Whisper Man person. Give the Whisper Man 4 stars. I think I'm going to skip this one, though. It sounded okay, but I got so many other books. Saga Book 4. Power Rangers Prime Volume 3. I've not even read the first Power Rangers Prime. I swear that the Color Unknown's already shown up like twice. Write what down? All Hail Chaos. That's the second time it's been on here. It's like they don't know when these things are coming out. All's Fair in Love and Magic. Wendland Chan just needs to get through her final year at Ceremony College of Magical Veterinary Sciences. I'm not familiar with that one. Is this the comic? Yeah. Wow. He looks super young, like a lot younger than I imagined him. Um, but could be fun. I mean, I'm currently reading through book 4 of Dungeon Crawler Carl. Hilarious contemporary fantasy about junior sales witch stuck in corporate hell who has to evade devilish pacts and her kick-ass world-saving demon-slaying mom. What? Excuse me? Evade devilish pacts and her kick-ass world-saving demon-slaying mom to save a surprisingly hot demon and work out how to hit her quarterly target. Oh my god. From the New York Times bestselling author of Dreadful and the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association, Morgan Blackwater's mother is a kick-ass world-saving demon-slaying Shadow Council wizard. As for Morgan, Morgan's a junior salesperson in a tech startup that can't even decide what its product is. But with magic dyslexia and a disinclination to kick ass, Morgan is doing her best carving out a niche for herself in the mundane world. Leaving work late one night, she discovers her boss dead from the effort of summoning a demon to trade his soul in order to make his quarterly target. This disturbingly attractive demon, Luceroth, Luke for short, Luke for short, is trapped here until he finds someone to sell their soul. While trying to sneak Luke out of the building, Morgan runs into her infamous mother. Apparently, someone has been summoning demons, and she's here to get to the bottom of it. Trying to protect Luke from her mother, Morgan gets sucked into an infernal plane and discovers hell really is a corporate nightmare. She only gets back home with a promise to deliver a human soul of her own. While her coworkers are really annoying, she's not willing to sacrifice their souls. The company's tech bro CEO, though, is another story. Yes, probably. Almost certainly. I'm writing this one down. I didn't hear about this from anybody. I think a lot of people did not care for Dreadful. But I liked it. I liked Dreadful. May 19th. All right. I think we're almost out of time. I don't think there's many more months I can actually look up. The Magic Order Library Edition. All right. And that's it. That's the end of the list. Yeah, it's late. That was a lot of fun, and got to read a lot of crazy synopses, um, get my schedule down. I hope you enjoyed hanging out and listening to me ramble about books for 2 hours. I hope your reading journey is going well. I hope you are finding books in this new year that are speaking to you and that you are excited for. And I'm really caught up in the energy right now of the beginning of the year, where everyone's talking about all these new releases and all their plans, and that's really helping fuel me in this first month of the year. So again, hope you enjoyed. Hope your reading journey is going well. As always, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so we can grow this corner of our BookTube community. I'm going to go back through a bunch of these and sign up for the potential to get free copies. And then at some point, I've got to go back through and do all the comics and manga that I know are coming out in the next year. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for today. Once again, thanks for dropping by. And until the next one, take care.